Welcome to Science for Sleep. Here, we drift gently through the wonders of the universe, where knowledge becomes lullaby, and curiosity softly guides you toward rest. Tonight, we journey into the quiet brilliance of a man, whose thoughts reshaped the heavens and the earth, yet who rarely raised his voice. His name is Isaac Newton, a boy once lost in books, a man who listened closely to nature's whispers. From falling apples to the motion of the stars, Newton uncovered the invisible strings that hold the cosmos together. So lie back, let your breath slow, and join me now as we follow the soft trail of thought left by the quiet man who changed the universe. Herb Chapter 1: A Candle and a Question. You begin in the quiet of your room, where a single flame dances like a thought. In this flicker, a boy named Isaac wonders why things fall and light bends. The stillness of his childhood holds a strange magic, a mind taking shape in solitude. You drift into the silence that shaped a universe-altering thinker. The room is still, not silent in a cold way, but warmly hushed, like the world has taken a breath and is holding it for you. A candle flickers nearby, its small flame pulsing gently. You watch it, hypnotized. It leans, it sways, it holds its shape, and yet never quite stays still. You are not alone in your watching. Far back in time, in a stone farmhouse in rural England, another child once stared at a flame just like this. A boy with serious eyes and silent thoughts. His name is Isaac, and though the world outside moves on, winds stirring, clouds drifting, harvests turning, his inner world begins to spin in place, slow and precise. He is small, quiet, often alone. He builds models, carves tools, watches insects crawl across his windowsill with the curiosity of someone who already suspects there is more to the world than what's on the surface. He does not chatter or run about like the other boys. His silence is not emptiness, it is attention. You lie back and imagine his room. Cool stone walls, wooden beams above, a narrow bed, and a boy watching shadows dance. Perhaps he notices how the light changes shape when it touches the edge of a curtain. Perhaps he wonders why dust in the air catches firelight in little sparks. Questions begin like this, not as loud declarations, but as gentle tugs. What is light? Why does a ball fall? Why does it always fall down? You feel your body relaxing, breathing in the same hush that held him. Isaac's world is one of patience. He observes before he speaks, thinks before he writes. His childhood, though lonesome in parts, is fertile ground for thought. He loses his father before he is born. His mother leaves him to be raised by grandparents when she remarries. He is not mistreated, but he is left to himself. Some children might collapse under the weight of such solitude. But Isaac builds. He crafts windmills out of scrap wood. He sketches. He watches. He begins to measure the world in his mind, not to control it, but to understand the quiet rules it follows. Rules no one else seems to notice. Outside, the world is spinning through war, politics, and change. But Isaac is tucked away in the countryside, where the skies are wide and the nights are deep. His imagination begins to drift like smoke. You follow it now, not quickly, but as if sleepwalking into thought. He walks alone along hedgerows, sometimes sketching patterns in the dirt with a stick. The stars above are not yet constellations to him. They are puzzles. The wind pressing against his skin is not just air, It is a force, a pressure, a mystery. You close your eyes and imagine what it feels like to live inside such a mind. Not chaotic, not crowded, but carefully tuned, like the slow ticking of a handmade clock. Tick, a pebble falls. Tick, a leaf drifts from a branch. Tick, the moon moves slightly across the sky. Each motion speaks. Each event whispers. There is a reason I move this way. And Isaac listens. He does not yet know the answers. Not yet. But his genius begins not with answers, but with the permission to wonder. And the world around him, simple, rural, unhurried, gives him time to ask strange questions. In the evenings, he lies in bed and watches the stars. You can feel the chill in the air outside, the heavy quilt tucked around him. The farmhouse groans softly with wind. Perhaps he wonders, as you do now, what holds the moon up? Why doesn't it fall like the apple? What is different about its journey through the sky? You breathe slowly, deeper now, your thoughts settling into the rhythm of his. Later, when he enters school, Isaac is not the brightest at first. He is average, sometimes withdrawn. But something shifts when he is challenged. He begins to compete, quietly, with a classmate who mocks him. He studies harder, longer. He climbs, not for pride, but for proof. Some minds bloom late. Others bloom when no one is watching. Isaac's does both. You picture him again, now older, walking along a stony path toward school. The sun glints off a puddle, and he notices the reflection, how it wobbles as he passes. He files it away, not needing to know yet, just noticing. That's how understanding begins, not with thunder, but with noticing. And perhaps that is how you fall asleep tonight, not with answers, but with quiet observations. You listen again to the candle beside you, its wax melting, its light steady, yet alive. What is flame really? Heat, light, energy? Isaac wondered, too. Later, he would learn to split that light, to break it into color, to find order inside the chaos of brightness. But not yet. Tonight, there is just the stillness. A boy, a question, and the long hush before the answer begins to form. And in that hush, you hear something soft. The rustle of leaves outside a small orchard, a shape falling through air, a thought beginning to land, not with a crash, but with a whisper. Why down and not sideways? Why always toward the earth's heart? Chapter 2, The Orchard and the Sky. Beneath an apple tree, your breath slows as a question gently falls. Why down and not sideways? Why always toward the earth's heart? You wander through young Newton's countryside, where nature becomes a quiet teacher. The orchard becomes the classroom of gravity, softly pulling your thoughts inward. You find yourself in a quiet orchard, where the late afternoon light filters through the branches like golden threads. The leaves barely stir. You sit beneath a broad-limbed apple tree, the ground soft beneath you, the air filled with the scent of sun-warmed bark and distant blossoms. This is not just a tree. This is the place where a question once fell, as silently and naturally as an apple. You close your eyes. The world narrows. You can almost hear the young boy breathing beside you. Isaac, no more than a teen, pale and thoughtful. He is not playing, not chasing, not climbing. He is watching, waiting, wondering. An apple loosens and falls, not sideways, not upward, but down, straight down. It is such a small event, so ordinary you might miss it. But not to Isaac. He watches it not just with his eyes, but with his mind. Why down? Why always down? What invisible law pulls it to the earth instead of letting it hover, spin, or fly? You open your eyes, and the orchard stretches wide. Rows of trees casting long shadows, the sky above open and deep. You walk slowly now, your steps gentle. Each tree holds another chance for a thought. Each breeze carries a whisper of understanding. Isaac grows up in this countryside. A quiet boy, observant, often alone, raised by grandparents after his father died before he was born. His mother left to remarry when he was 3, and for many years, her absence made space. Space filled with silence, space filled with watching. He draws, he builds, he stares into streams and sketches the arc of the sun. He writes not stories, but systems, diagrams, experiments. You imagine him in his room, carving shapes into wood, testing the angles of light against the wall, turning curiosity into a habit, into a way of living. You pass an open field. Beyond it lies the small farmhouse where Isaac once lived. No grand castle of learning, no towering library. Just a boy in the sky, a boy in the wind, a boy in the question of falling. You kneel in the grass and look upward. The sky is the same one he watched, vast and blue, alive with clouds moving slowly, not at random, but somehow following rules. Patterns. You can feel it now, that quiet truth pressing gently on your chest. The world is not chaos, but rhythm. At school, Isaac is often unnoticed, teased sometimes. He doesn't speak much, but he listens, and his mind moves and spirals, always circling an idea, drawing it tighter and tighter until he finds its center. Back under the apple tree, time slows. You imagine Isaac lying on his back, watching birds curve overhead, watching the way the leaves fall with a lazy elegance. They never float upward, always down. What is pulling them? And then you feel it in your own body, the gentle pressure of the earth holding you. Gravity is not a push. It's a pull, a kindness, a constant. You are not being forced to the ground. You are being held. Isaac doesn't have the word yet. He doesn't know what gravity is, only what it does. He sees the apple fall and wonders if the same force that draws it to the earth might reach farther, might pull on the moon, might stretch its invisible hand to the stars. This thought, so simple and so vast, becomes a seed. Not a flash of genius, but a quiet suspicion, a soft hunch, one he will nurture over years, not moments. The apple is not the answer. It is only the beginning of a lifelong unfolding. You walk further now, stepping slowly through time. You see the fields as Newton saw them, not just in color and shape, but in meaning. Every hill is a curve. Every stone's fall is a question. Every gust of wind an equation waiting to be felt. You stop near a shallow brook, its water moving in soft ripples. Isaac once stood here, watching the way things float, the way water flows around obstacles. He begins to understand that everything in nature can be measured, traced, repeated. Nature is not only beautiful, it is predictable. This is his cathedral, not a building, but a landscape. Not doctrine, but observation. He learns not from books alone, but from the earth itself. The orchard becomes a teacher. The sky becomes a question, and the question becomes everything. You pause now, breathing slowly, letting gravity cradle your body. You are part of this rhythm too. You fall like the apple. You orbit like the moon. Even your thoughts are subject to invisible pulls of wonder, of memory, of sleep. Isaac doesn't yet know the equations. He doesn't yet name the force. But in this moment, under this tree, he feels something vast and quiet pass through him. He feels connected to the apple, the sky, and the silence in between. You look up again, and the branches sway gently. What goes up must come down. But what if what falls is not just fruit, but a realization? The apple does not fall by accident. It falls because the earth calls to it. A soft voice, unheard but unbroken. As night falls, the stars appear one by one. Still, they do not drift aimlessly. They hold their paths with grace. Isaac will one day discover that the same force that calls the apple down also holds the moon in orbit and the planets in their graceful loops. But for now, he rests in the question. And so do you. You lie back beneath the tree, letting the sky press gently against your thoughts. Above you, the orchard fades into the blue of twilight. Below you, the earth hums with silent gravity. And somewhere, just beyond what you can name, a law is waiting to be written. But before that law can be born, the world must pause and send him into solitude. Chapter 3: The Year the World Stopped. A plague shuts the world down, and silence returns to the fields. Isaac retreats, not in fear, but in thought, away from Cambridge into deep time. In isolation, his ideas bloom. Calculus, motion, light. The world is paused, but his mind accelerates, and so do you, gently. You are standing at the edge of a quiet world. There is no hum of carriages on cobbled roads, no lectures spilling into courtyards. The university bells have gone still, and the halls of Cambridge echo with absence. It is the year 1665, and the plague has come again. A breathless kind of silence falls over England, heavy and invisible. Cities empty. Villages lock their doors. Time itself seems to wait. And in the middle of this pause, like a candle flickering in a windless room, there is a young man. Isaac Newton, just 22, leaves the city and returns to the countryside of Woolsthorpe, to the house where he once watched apples fall and stars blink through the farmhouse window. But he does not return in fear. He returns in thought. You walk with him, slowly, through the meadows. The fields have grown wild. The sky is large and undisturbed, and the wind moves in long, thoughtful strokes across the grass. In this hush, ideas begin to take root, not loud, not forced, just gently, as seeds do when no one is looking. Here, isolation becomes a greenhouse for thought. There is no professor now, no curriculum, no distractions. Only hours, and then more hours. Days so long and uninterrupted that your mind begins to unfold like paper, corner by corner. Newton, in these 2 years of quiet, would later call this time his annus mirabilis, his miraculous year. But there are no miracles here, only deep patience. You picture him in the orchard behind the house, watching the branches sway. Apples fall, yes, as they always have. But now a question follows the fall. Why? Why always down? Why always the same way? And so, sitting with nothing but paper and sky, Newton begins to imagine a force that pulls all things toward one another. He does not name it gravity yet, not formally, but the seed of the idea is there, quietly settling into the soil of his solitude. He walks and watches, listens and writes. The earth pulls the apple. The moon, too, must be falling, not toward earth in a straight line, but continuously around it, caught in an endless curve. The heavens are not separate from the orchard. They are made of the same laws. You feel it now, in your own breath, the soft weight of gravity pulling you toward the earth, and also toward understanding. And then there is light. Inside the dim farmhouse, Newton begins to play with sunlight. He lets it pass through a prism and watches it bloom, from one beam to many colors. He sees that white light isn't pure. It's a chorus, a blend, a weaving of waves. The world, it seems, is always more layered than it first appears. And still, the plague lingers. Outside, the world waits behind shutters and fears. But inside this young man's quiet mind, a revolution is beginning. You sit with him in the candlelight. There is no electricity, no glowing screen, only the scratch of quill and the slow unfolding of thought. He begins to invent a new mathematics, a language for change, for motion, for the very way the world shifts over time. You may know it as calculus, but for Newton, it is just a tool to capture what he sees, how things move, how they fall, how they grow. Each symbol on the page is a step deeper into nature's rhythm. Outside the window, rain taps gently against the glass. Inside, Newton writes. He draws curves that mimic the path of falling objects, charts the slope of time itself. And you, reader of minds, listener of sleep, begin to sense that thought, real thought, is not always loud. Sometimes it is still. Sometimes it hides in the corners of days when nothing seems to happen. That's what this chapter is, a long, sacred pause. The world stops, and Newton begins. He begins not just one idea, but many. In these years of isolation, he touches the origins of gravity, optics, and calculus, the tools that will, decades later, redefine everything from astronomy to engineering. But he doesn't know that yet, and neither do you. Right now, it's just the page and the mind, just the orchard and the prism, just silence, full of potential. You may have known such times yourself, times when the world asked you to be still, times when, far from noise, your own thoughts began to stretch and breathe again. That is where Newton lives now, in that slow breath, in that long quiet. And what a strange truth it is. Sometimes, when the world seems to stop, the mind begins to move. You linger there with him, in the hush between epidemics and discoveries. You feel the odd safety of being nowhere in particular, yet everywhere in your thoughts. Because stillness is not absence. It is preparation. And when the world begins to turn again, as it always does, you will not be the same. You glance once more at the orchard, where the branches sway gently. The fruit is ripening. The air is changing. The questions are still falling. And beyond the orchard, just over the hill, Chapter 4, Light in a Dark Room. A narrow beam enters through a shuttered window, and your mind follows. Isaac splits light with a prism, revealing hidden colors inside white stillness. He sees rainbows where others saw simplicity, and you begin to see them too. Light is not one thing, but many voices whispering together. In the hush of a shadowed room, you sit in stillness. The walls are blank, the air unmoving. The world outside feels distant, muffled by thick stone and closed shutters. But a single sliver of sunlight has found its way in, a narrow blade of brightness piercing the dark. You watch it move slowly across the floor, like a finger pointing. It doesn't flicker or hurry. It glows, steady and straight, as if it carries a purpose. The dust in the air dances in it, gold specks swirling in the quiet. Now imagine this room belongs to a man who listens to the silence, not just with his ears, but with his mind. A man who sees not only what is, but what could be hiding behind it. This is Isaac Newton's world now, a world made of light, shadow, and questions. He closes the shutters even tighter, sealing the room in gloom. Except for that one ray of light, carefully let in through a hole he makes with a knife. It's deliberate, controlled, focused. Then comes the glass, a prism, cut and clear, held steady in the path of the beam. And just like that, the light is undone. It bursts into color, a fan of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, spilling across the wall like a gentle explosion. A silent rainbow, born not in the sky, but in a dark room by one curious mind. You blink. How could something so whole break into parts? You always thought white was the beginning, the simplest form of light. But Newton sees deeper. He realizes, white is not a color, it is a chorus. Each hue, each note in the rainbow, has always been inside that narrow beam. The prism does not add anything new. It only reveals what was already there. You begin to wonder, how much of the world is like this? Seemingly simple, until someone asks the right question, and then suddenly, everything opens. Isaac does not stop at wonder. He experiments. He tilts the prism, moves it closer and farther. The rainbow stretches, shifts, sharpens. Then he takes another prism and puts it in the path of the colors, and the band of hues folds back into white. He proves what no one truly believed. Light is made of colors, and those colors can come apart or come together again. It's like hearing a single note, then realizing it's a chord. Like tasting plain water, only to discover it carries hints of minerals, sky, and soil. The world becomes richer when you know where to look. Before Newton, many believed that the prism added color to light, that the glass tinted the beam somehow. But he shows the truth with clarity and patience. Light, he says, carries all colors already, folded within it like a secret waiting to be unwrapped. And you? You begin to feel that, too. You think of sunlight through leaves, how it sometimes glows green, or the way water sparkles into blues and golds. These aren't tricks of your eyes. They're pieces of truth hidden inside the light itself. There's something comforting in that, in knowing that what looks plain might be full of hidden beauty, that what feels single might actually be made of many, all working in harmony. The way your breath is made of quiet parts, oxygen, carbon, warmth, rhythm, yet you only feel it as one. Newton writes about his experiments with care, his words calm and deliberate. He doesn't rush to conclusions. He observes, repeats, confirms. This is not guesswork. It's a slow unfolding. And in this slow unfolding, he changes everything. From his work will come a new understanding of how sight works, how colors behave, how lenses should be shaped, not just for experiments, but for telescopes, microscopes, even your own glasses centuries later. One quiet man, one beam of light, and the world begins to see more clearly. The room is still dim, except for that colorful fan of light stretched on the far wall. You look at it again. Red at one end, deep and slow, like a heartbeat. Violet at the other, soft and high, like a whisper at the edge of hearing. Between them, a bridge of colors, each one slightly different, yet seamlessly joined. That's how light moves, not in pieces, but in waves. Long waves, short waves, rippling invisibly through space until they meet your eye. Isaac doesn't yet know about wavelengths, not in the way we describe them today, but he senses it, that colors are part of a hidden rhythm. You wonder how light feels, traveling through the air, through windows, clouds, glass. You imagine it bending, refracting, slowing down just enough to change direction, like a runner turning on a gravel path, losing speed, shifting course. This bending, this refraction, is what makes the prism work. Light enters the glass, slows slightly, and in that pause, its layers drift apart. The colors, once woven together, begin to unspool. You breathe in, slow and deep. Something about it feels familiar. You, too, are made of parts. Thoughts, memories, emotions, layered and joined, yet sometimes separate, just like light. Isaac's room is quiet again. The experiment ends, but the idea remains. That within the simplest things, there is always more. That light is not a straight answer, but a conversation, ongoing and beautiful. The shutters open slowly. The full sun floods the room, erasing the rainbow. But you remember what was revealed in the dark. The next time you see sunlight, it will feel fuller, richer. You'll carry the knowledge that within every ordinary brightness, something extraordinary is folded. You close your eyes, and in the gentle darkness behind your eyelids, you still see that spray of color. And now, a soft question lingers. If light can be split and studied, can motion be measured the same way? Can the way things move, from falling apples to spinning planets, be written like music? You feel the stillness stir with a new kind of rhythm. And somewhere in that rhythm, an invisible law is beginning to take shape. Chapter 5. The Laws That Shape the Stars. You drift into the night sky, where planets swirl and stars trace graceful arcs. Isaac's laws of motion cradle you, as if the cosmos follows a lullaby. Everything, from pebbles to planets, obeys the same gentle rules. In Newton's universe, the stars are not wild. They're dancing in harmony. Close your eyes now. Let the weight of your body sink gently into stillness, as if gravity itself is rocking you to sleep. Above you, the sky darkens, not with fear or mystery, but with calm. A velvet dome stretched wide with stars, planets, and the distant hush of galaxies. You are drifting now, upward, outward, into a universe whose quiet beauty unfolds with every breath. You pass the moon, soft, scarred, glowing with remembered light. It circles Earth with a calm rhythm, never rushing, never late. You float past it gently, carried not by wings or wind, but by invisible laws, laws as old as time and as quiet as your breath. These are Isaac Newton's laws of motion. They are not shouted like commands. They do not crackle like lightning or roar like thunder. They are whispers written into the bones of every star, every pebble, every drifting leaf. They are simple, but they hold everything. The first law, an object in motion stays in motion, unless something interrupts it. You think of a marble on a floor, rolling slowly until it stops. But in the vacuum of space, where no floor, no air, no resistance exists, that marble would never stop. It would glide forever through the darkness in perfect stillness of motion, until, perhaps, gravity's fingers pulled it in. The second law, force equals mass times acceleration. It sounds like math, but it feels like truth. Push something light, and it moves fast. Push something heavy, and it lumbers forward slowly. Everything responds to force, but it also whispers back with weight, with resistance, with memory. Even the stars respond to pressure, and planets follow where force leads. The third law, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This one is a dance. Push your hand against a wall, it pushes back. A rocket soars not because of its fire, but because its fire pushes the earth away. You move forward by moving something else backward. Every motion is a conversation, a balance, a mirrored act. These laws, simple enough to fit in a child's notebook, are the reason the moon does not fall, the reason your feet meet the floor, the reason stars circle in galaxies instead of flying apart like sparks. You drift through this space, and now you see more clearly. The solar system becomes a clockwork model, not stiff or mechanical, but graceful. The planets move in wide, curving paths, like ribbons on a breeze. Mercury twirls close to the sun. Venus glows like a lantern in the dusk. Earth spins with you on it, blue and alive. Mars, red and slow. Jupiter, heavy and grand. Saturn, ringed in frost. All of them moving, not randomly, but according to rules. These rules do not chain them. They guide them, like music guides a dancer, or wind shapes a bird's flight. You remember, once, long ago, people thought the heavens were chaotic. Planets jumped backward. Stars wandered. Comets were omens, not objects. But Newton brought harmony to the sky. He showed that the same force that pulls an apple to the ground also keeps the moon in its orbit. It wasn't a different magic for earth and sky. It was one magic everywhere. This idea, this quiet revolution, changed everything. You watch now as an apple falls. Not fast, not with drama, just with certainty. It falls straight down, drawn by Earth's gravity. Now imagine that apple thrown, gently, softly. If you throw it, it arcs through the air and lands. Throw it harder, and it goes farther. Throw it fast enough, faster than fast, and instead of falling back, it curves with the Earth. It orbits. It becomes a satellite. A falling apple becomes the moon. That is Newton's genius. To see no line between the ordinary and the cosmic. To watch a falling fruit and see the movement of worlds. And now, in the quiet of this night, you feel it too. The slow elegance of motion. The grace of cause and effect. The unity of things. You are not apart from this universe. You are made of it. You move with it. Your muscles stretch and rest because of motion. Your breath flows in rhythm, obeying forces within and around you. You blink, you dream, you float, because physics allows it. And yet, even as Newton defined the rules, he didn't close the door on wonder. He didn't claim to know why the universe follows these rules, only that it does. His equations do not steal the poetry from the sky. They help you read it. You glance now at a comet, trailing silver fire. It bends gently around the sun, not because of magic, but because of momentum and mass, gravity and time. Yet it still takes your breath away. The laws do not erase beauty. They reveal it. You notice, too, how these laws give comfort. You are not tossed in a random sea. You are part of a patterned ocean, a system that sings to itself. The stars above do not fall. They follow their paths with patient grace. And you, like them, are held by gravity, held by motion, held by understanding. Newton gave you this, not a rule book to memorize, but a soft light to walk by. You feel it now, this strange peace, that everything moves as it must, not because it has no choice, but because it follows its nature. And perhaps, so do you. You close your eyes, not to leave this moment, but to join it, to feel yourself in motion, even in stillness. To know that sleep is just another kind of falling, not down, but inward. And somewhere in the dark, the moon continues its circle. The earth spins in silence. The stars keep dancing. But gravity isn't done whispering yet. There is more to feel, more to notice. The force that holds you here also reaches out to touch the moon. And so you wonder, how does something so quiet stretch across the vastness between worlds? How does the same pull that grounds you keep a satellite in the sky? Chapter 6: Invisible Threads and Falling Moons. Gravity is not just a force, it's a whisper between all things. You feel Earth pulling you, the moon circling softly, the tides breathing in rhythm. Isaac's thoughts connect apples to orbits, and your body to the stars. Every motion becomes a kind of love story, silent, constant, unseen. You lie back and feel the pull, soft, steady, unquestioning. Your body, though still, is held. By the bed beneath you, by the floor beneath that, by the earth herself, cupping you gently in her gravity. This downward tug, so ordinary, becomes extraordinary when you pause to feel it. It's not just falling, it's being called home. Somewhere in the still quiet of the 1660s, Isaac Newton felt that same pull, not just on apples and bodies, but on thoughts. He imagined the earth reaching out invisibly, silently, drawing everything near. He watched the moon and thought, what if falling didn't always mean touching the ground? You imagine the moon now, floating far above you in the night sky. It circles the earth with ancient patience, never crashing down, never drifting away. How does it stay there, suspended in this endless ballet? Newton asked that too, not with fear, but fascination. What invisible thread ties the moon to us? He called it gravity, not a name made of thunder or flash, but of subtlety, a quiet word for a quiet truth. Everything with mass pulls on everything else. You and the earth and the moon. Even you and the person dreaming next door, ever so slightly, your matter hums in response to theirs. You feel the stillness in your room, and yet the world turns, the moon orbits, the tides rise and fall. That's gravity too, not just pulling down, but moving sideways, around, through. It's the earth spinning beneath you, oceans lifting like breath, the moon tugging at the skin of the sea, then letting go. Isaac realized that gravity didn't stop at the treetops. It reached up, far past clouds, past stars, into the quiet dark of space. It was the same force guiding the apple downward, and guiding the moon in its eternal fall, not into Earth, but around it. You picture that now? The moon isn't just hanging there. It's always falling. But it moves forward fast enough that the ground curves away beneath it, forever missing the earth by just enough. like skipping a stone that never sinks. Newton's vision stitched the sky to the soil. He showed us that celestial and earthly are not separate things, that the universe isn't divided into heavens and here, but connected, sewn together by this invisible lace of gravity. He gave us equations, yes, but behind them was awe. He could write the force of gravity with a single formula, but its meaning went beyond math. He saw the symmetry. An apple falls just as the moon falls, just as you fall asleep now, held in a cradle of unseen arms. And the earth, it too is pulled, by the sun, by Jupiter, by the far-off brush of other stars. Every object speaks in this soft gravitational language. Nothing is alone. Even in the emptiest places, something is always listening. You are not floating aimlessly in the dark. You are tethered, always, by threads you cannot see but can feel if you let your body grow quiet. These threads stretch across your life, from the soles of your feet to the depths of the planet, from your heart to the swirl of galaxies. Isaac knew, long before we had rockets or satellites, that space wasn't empty. It was full of connection, a web where no star sings alone. And still he wondered, is this pull instantaneous? Does it take time for gravity to travel? If the sun vanished, would Earth keep circling? Or would we spiral into silence? Those questions would wait for another century. But already, Newton had planted the seed, that all motion, all change, all dance in the universe was choreographed by this delicate gravity. You turn your head gently on your pillow and imagine the moon out there, still circling. It's been doing so for billions of years, and it never tires. Gravity has no fatigue. It does not sleep. It simply is. It's the reason your body stays on the mattress, why your breath doesn't drift off into the ceiling, why tides swell and seeds no down from up. You might call it the most faithful companion in the cosmos, a pull that never lets go, never forgets you. And so, with every blink, every breath, you feel yourself drawn a little deeper into the quiet heart of the universe. One man, sitting in silence centuries ago, followed this feeling into a law that governs the orbits of planets and the tumble of pebbles, the curve of water in a spoon and the grand spin of galaxies. You rest now in the truth of that discovery, not the numbers or diagrams, but the feeling beneath it, the assurance that you are held, that nothing moves without being touched by something else. And in that thought, in that stillness, another question begins to bloom. If gravity shapes the path of falling moons, what greater rhythm shapes the stars? Chapter 7. The Clockwork of Heaven. Picture a vast cosmic clock, each gear a moon, a comet, a distant sun. Newton saw the sky not as chaos, but as precision, every tick predictable. The universe turns, not blindly, but by elegant design. You rest in this celestial rhythm, rocked by predictable wonder. Close your eyes for a moment. Let the silence stretch wide, like the night sky above a still field. There is no hurry here, only a gentle turning, soft and slow. You are floating now, not falling, not rising, but suspended, as if on the breath of the universe itself. Above you, stars shimmer like frost caught in candlelight. Planets glide in long, curved paths. And though the sky appears silent, it is not empty. It is full of motion, but not chaotic motion, not randomness. It moves with intention, with rhythm, with purpose. Isaac Newton saw this, not just with his eyes, but with a deeper kind of seeing, the kind that watches and waits, that listens for the echo beneath the sound. Where others saw beauty, he saw pattern. Where others saw wonder, he saw laws. And yet, wonder never left him. The heavens, to Newton, were a great machine, not cold, not mechanical in the way a gear grinds or a wheel spins. No, this machine was divine in its balance. A clock, yes, but not built by man, built by something more. Each star, a tick, each orbit, a talk. In this celestial timepiece, Earth is not center stage. You are not at the middle. Instead, you are part of the movement, a speck on a wheel that turns, which turns another, which turns another still. Newton's great insight was not just that the planets moved, but that they moved in a way that could be understood. They followed laws, not decrees from a distant god, but rules written into the fabric of space itself. You breathe in, slowly, and in that breath, feel the grace of predictability. The moon rises and falls, the tides come and go, the sun traces its arc across your sky, not by chance, but because it must. This idea, that the universe is knowable, was revolutionary. Before Newton, much of the cosmos was shrouded in mystery, cloaked in myth. Why did Mars loop backward in the sky? Why did comets come and go like omens? No one knew. Or if they did, they offered stories, not reasons. But Newton gave the stars a language. He gave the orbits equations. He took this swirling, sweeping ballet of the heavens and translated it into math, not to reduce the beauty, but to share it, to show that order could be beautiful too, that a formula could sing, if only you knew how to listen. Imagine it now, Newton at his desk, quill in hand, ink pooled in the candle's flickering glow. He writes slowly, deliberately. He is not rushing to explain. He is discovering. The way a child opens a music box and listens to the tune for the very first time. The laws he lays down, laws of motion, of gravity, are not inventions. They are discoveries carved out of silence, as if he is uncovering something that was always there, waiting to be noticed. And you, too, notice now, the way the sky does not stutter, the way the moon's pull is as soft as it is certain, the way, if you were to leap from a cliff or launch a rocket, the same rule would govern your fall or your flight. Because the universe, Newton showed us, is consistent. It is lawful. And in that lawfulness, there is peace. You turn gently in your bed and picture the solar system as a great orrery, one of those mechanical models with brass arms and ticking gears. The sun glows in the center. Mercury dances closest, spinning like a curious child. Venus glides slowly, golden and serene. Earth, your Earth, makes her graceful loop, accompanied by the moon like a quiet friend. Mars trails behind, fiery and thoughtful. Beyond them, the outer planets swirl in stately rhythm. Each orbit is not random. It is calculated, not by you, not even by Newton, but by the nature of the universe itself. And this is the miracle, that something so vast, so unknowably large, could be described. That the sky itself follows a script, one that never misses a line. You are part of that story. Your body, too, obeys these laws. The fall of an apple, the spin of a galaxy, both shaped by the same invisible hands. And yet, there is humility in this knowledge. Newton knew what he knew, but also knew how much he did not. He once said he felt like a boy playing on the shore, finding a smoother pebble or prettier shell, while the great ocean of truth lay before him, undiscovered. So as you drift deeper into this quiet understanding, remember, even the greatest minds rest in mystery. Even the most certain truths can shimmer with the unknown. Above you, comets trace long, glowing arcs through the dark. They are not omens. They are not accidents. They are part of the great choreography. Their returns predicted not by fortune tellers, but by Newton's numbers. And still, there is awe. Still, there is room for breathless wonder. Not despite the predictability, but because of it. There is a strange comfort in knowing that even as you sleep, the earth spins steadily on her axis. That the sun will rise tomorrow, not by chance, but by law. That the stars above you are not scattered, but placed. You are cradled by this order, held in the ticking rhythm of gravity and time. And yet, Isaac Newton did not stop at the sky. He did not rest after measuring the moon's arc. There were other questions waiting, other mysteries still unsolved. In the dim hours of the night, lit only by a candle and a restless mind, he began to ask something older than motion, deeper than light. He turned inward. He searched for what lies beyond the laws, for forces that could not be measured by mass or distance, for truths buried in symbols, in elements, in ancient secrets. Because even within a clockwork universe, some mysteries remain unspoken. And so you follow him now, not into numbers or orbits, but into something older, stranger, and just as softly lit. Into the realm where science meets longing, where the thinker becomes the seeker, where Isaac Newton becomes the alchemist of thought. Chapter 8, The Alchemist of Thought. By candlelight, Isaac searches for more than science. He seeks hidden truths. Alchemy, ancient and symbolic, wraps around his logical mind like fog. He believed in unseen forces, not mystical, but waiting to be understood. You drift between known laws and unknown questions, where mystery still lives. The candle flickers again tonight. Its tiny flame leans and sways with your breath, casting long shadows across the wooden desk. You imagine Isaac there, older now, quiet still, surrounded not only by equations, but by strange symbols, faded manuscripts, and sealed glass bottles glinting in the light. He is not calculating motion tonight. He is not watching light pass through prisms. Tonight, he is searching for something older, deeper, something hidden beneath the surface of things. And you are with him. This is not the Newton you met in the apple orchard or beneath the stars. This is a man fascinated by gold, by transformation, by the idea that lead might one day become light. His scientific mind has not gone astray. It has only grown wide enough to hold contradiction. He studies ancient texts, their ink smudged and curling with age. He deciphers cryptic symbols, formulas that do not speak in mass or velocity, but in fire and salt, sun and mercury. He turns the pages slowly, as if listening for voices from centuries before. Alchemy, a word that sounds like myth, like magic, yet to Isaac, it is another language for truth. To the world, it may seem superstition, but to him, it is metaphor, perhaps even pre-science. A bridge between the seen and the unseen. You wonder, why would the man who measured planets spend nights boiling metals in secret? Why would a master of logic search for the philosopher's stone? But think of it this way. Just as light, when passed through glass, revealed hidden colors, perhaps matter, when passed through fire, might reveal a hidden soul. In a dim stone room, Newton works alone. He mixes sulfur with mercury, studies reactions with a reverent stillness. He watches transformation, not as spectacle, but as scripture. To you, it feels like stepping into a cathedral of questions. The air is thick with incense, with old hope and unresolved dreams. But also, it is rich with the same curiosity that looked up at the moon and asked, "Why doesn't it fall?" Isaac does not reject science, he expands it. He wants to know the laws, yes, but also the lawgiver. He wants to weigh matter, but also to find the weight of meaning. In alchemy, he reads of purification, of metals made pure by fire. And perhaps he sees something personal in that. His own mind, so precise, so burdened, longing to be refined. You sit beside him, candlelight dancing in your eyes. The room is quiet, but for the soft clink of glass, the whisper of pages turning. There is no urgency here, no rush to prove, only the slow unraveling of mystery. Alchemy is not only about changing lead to gold, it is about changing ignorance to understanding. To Newton, the metaphors are rich. Gold is not just metal, it is truth. It is constancy. It is that which survives the fire. He writes in code, hiding his alchemical studies behind cryptic language. The world may not be ready, he thinks. Let them have the Principia. Let them orbit the stars. But this belongs to the quiet. You feel the duality inside him, the scientist and the seeker. He is not two men, but one whole human mind reaching in both directions. Upward, toward the measurable. Inward, toward the unknowable. In your own mind, you recognize that same flicker. You love certainty, but you also dream. You trust the weight of things, yet sometimes you believe in signs. Maybe that's what makes Newton feel so familiar. Not his brilliance, but his searching. Not only what he found, but what he kept looking for. Even now, centuries later, scientists sift through his coded notebooks. Not to learn how to make gold, but to understand the man who redefined the universe, yet still believed in fire's power to change more than matter. You let that thought settle in. Maybe science doesn't always begin with clarity. Maybe it begins with wonder cloaked in fog, with symbols, with riddles, with quiet questions lit by flickering flame. And now, you feel your breath slowing again. You are floating somewhere between equations and dreams, between what is proven and what is waiting to be revealed. Outside, the world sleeps. Inside, Isaac's candle still burns. In your heart, so does the mystery, and you begin to wonder, if gravity connects apples to planets, what quiet force connects thought to transformation? Chapter 9. The Weight of Being Right. Fame comes softly, like a ripple, but its weight grows heavier. Newton defends his ideas, builds walls, withdraws into silence again. Even the quietest minds carry storms inside. You feel the balance of brilliance and burden, of knowing too much, too soon. Fame doesn't arrive like thunder. It comes like mist over a still pond, slow, almost imperceptible. At first, you don't even feel it. But then, its presence settles around you, quietly rearranging everything. You're walking now in the worn shoes of a man who never sought applause. Isaac Newton, The boy who watched falling apples, the man who mapped the stars, is no longer invisible. He has become the name people whisper when they look up at the sky and wonder why it moves. You feel the pressure begin to build. In London's rising intellectual circles, Newton's name carries a weight it never had in the orchard or in his silent years of retreat. His Principia Mathematica, the book that redefined physics, is spreading. And with each page turned by curious hands, a storm begins to stir. Because brilliance is rarely left alone. There are other minds in the world, sharp, proud, hungry for truth and recognition. And they have questions. Questions that sound less like curiosity and more like challenge. A name echoes, Leibniz. Another thinker, another brilliant flame. You feel the air tighten between them. Two suns in the same sky. Who invented calculus? Who thought it first? And suddenly, truth becomes territory. You sit in Newton's study now. Papers are everywhere, the air thick with ink and memory. Outside, the world sees a giant. Inside, Newton feels something more fragile, the need to defend, to prove, to be understood without being attacked. He writes letters. Carefully, precisely. They are full of ideas, but also shields, mathematical armor. And you realize something quietly painful. Even for a mind as luminous as Newton's, being right is not enough. He must guard what he's built, because ideas, once born, are no longer just thoughts. They become claims, and the claiming of them costs something. You imagine his fingers, stained with ink, shaking slightly, not from age, but from the invisible toll of constant vigilance. Even the act of writing becomes a form of battle. He doesn't shout. He withdraws. He builds walls, not with stone, but with silence. The Royal Society, which once offered a home for scientific thought, now feels colder. Newton becomes its president. He is respected, revered, but also isolated. His correspondence grows sharper. Less wonder, more argument. He tracks criticisms. He catalogs the words of others. Not because he is petty, but because he is human. And to be challenged when you've seen the invisible threads of the universe, it stings. And yet, you feel the contradiction quietly pulsing beneath his skin. This is the same man who once stared at prisms for hours, entranced by color. The same boy who asked why the moon doesn't fall. That softness still lives somewhere inside him, but it's buried now beneath layers of doubt and scrutiny. You breathe with him. Feel how heavy it is to carry truth. Not just the knowledge, but the responsibility that comes with it. To see what others do not, and to constantly defend that vision. Newton, once a man of thought, has become a man of defense. And this, too, is part of being great. You begin to sense that the brightest minds walk on narrow ridges. Between vision and loneliness, between clarity and exhaustion. Even when he looks to the stars now, perhaps the view feels different, less romantic, more like a map he must continuously protect from being redrawn. But still he watches. Still he thinks. Even silence cannot steal that away. And maybe, in those quietest moments, when he's alone again in the dark, he returns, if only briefly, to the boy beneath the apple tree. The one who wasn't trying to win, just wondering why. You, too, return to that orchard in your thoughts, to the beginning of all this, the questions, the wonder. And you begin to understand that even those who shape the world, often long to step outside of it. You imagine him older now. His face is lined, not just by time, but by thinking, deeply, relentlessly. But his eyes still hold that flicker, that soft burning curiosity that no acclaim could extinguish. You breathe in, you let go, because even in his guarded silence, Newton has left something open, a door for you to walk through. His thoughts, written long ago, still wait for you in quiet pages. And as your own mind slows, rocked by rhythm and gravity, you realize this. Being right can be heavy, but sharing wonder is light. As you begin to drift, a question rises, not from argument, but from somewhere older than language. What makes things fall, but also rise again in light? And just beyond the edges of that thought, a beam of light bends through a prism, and you follow its path into color, into glass, into the silence of discovery once more. Chapter 10, A Feather in the Void. As you float through space, you carry Newton's legacy like a soft feather. Time moves forward, but his thoughts remain, embedded in every orbit and equation. You understand now, one quiet life can echo through centuries. And as you fall asleep, you fall gently, just as Newton said you would. You are drifting now, weightless, suspended in the hush between stars, in the quiet cradle of the cosmos. There is no up here, no down, only the slow turning of the universe, like a great, unseen wheel turning beyond time. And in your open hand, if you imagine it, a single feather, soft, weightless, falling in perfect silence, but not in haste. This feather could fall here forever. It doesn't race. It doesn't stop. It simply moves, gently pulled, not pushed, guided by the invisible hand that Newton once described. A hand not made of flesh and bone, but of space, time, and gravity. You remember now, the apple, the moon, the glass prism, the candlelight in a quiet room. Each image is a chapter in the story of a man who never raced to speak, but whose words still echo through the stars. Isaac Newton never left Earth. He never looked down on it from space. And yet, his thoughts stretch farther than the eye can see. Every orbit, every falling leaf, every ocean tide, follows the rhythm he once traced with chalk and thought. It's astonishing, isn't it, that a mind sitting alone under a tree or inside a plague-year cottage could pull together the rules of the universe, as if gathering scattered threads into one golden string. And you are part of that string. Your breath slows as you picture the planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, looping through space in curved lines, not because they are told to, but because the shape of the universe bends them that way. You are moving, too. Even now, even here. Earth turns below you like a lullaby on repeat, 1,000 miles every hour, and yet you feel still. That's gravity, too. Not just a force that holds you down, but a promise that you belong to something. A planet, a system, a story. And Newton, he wrote the beginning of that story in the language of motion. He showed us that the feather and the cannonball fall the same, not because of their shape or weight, but because of the fabric of space pulling them both in. He showed us that the same rules apply, whether it's an apple in a garden, or a comet brushing the edge of forever. You hold that feather again, not just in your hand now, but in your thoughts, because it's not just an object. It's a metaphor for ideas, for grace, for the quiet power of understanding. The feather does not need force to be beautiful. It does not need noise to be important. It simply drifts in the pattern the universe allows. And in that, it becomes infinite. Newton was like that, too. No thunderous speeches. No need for grand attention. Just quiet brilliance. Precise. Steady. Immovable in truth. He taught us that even silence can be full of answers. That sometimes, sitting still beneath a tree, is how you learn to measure the stars. Your eyes soften now, as if they are also falling. Not asleep yet, but further inward, more weightless than before. Out here, where there is no friction, a feather keeps moving, unless something stops it. Newton called it inertia, a state of motion that lasts forever, unless interrupted. And your thoughts are like that now, in motion, gliding through the legacy of a man who showed us how motion works. He showed us that time is not random, that the heavens are not chaos, that gravity is not a mystery, but a relationship between you and the earth, between the moon and the tide, between the feather and the void. Close your eyes, and you can feel it, the subtle tug of the world beneath you, the curved line of your orbit through life. There is no edge to space, and perhaps no edge to understanding. Newton didn't claim to know it all. He once said, "I do not know what I may appear to the world, but to myself I seem to have been only like a boy, playing on the seashore, and diverting myself now and then, in finding a smoother pebble or a prettier shell than ordinary, whilst the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me." And that, you realize, is the heart of everything. Not knowing all, but wondering, being willing to ask. You are like that child on the shore now. You hold the feather, you hold the pebble, and you let the waves of truth roll gently at your feet. The universe remains vast. Mystery still sleeps between the stars. But you do not fear that, because Newton has given you a light, not to erase the dark, but to walk through it slowly, softly, with wonder. Let the feather drift now. Let it fall through your thoughts. No rush, no end, only emotion, quiet and eternal, pulling you gently toward dreams. And as you begin to drift, your body weightless in sleep, you might wonder what other quiet minds are still out there, watching the stars, and waiting for the next great question to fall softly, like an apple, or a feather, or the hush between one chapter and the next. And now, your journey through Newton's quiet world comes to rest. You've floated beside the moon, watched feathers fall in silence, and walked the seashore of a curious mind. As sleep gently pulls you inward, carry with you this truth. Even the softest voice can echo through time. Thank you for joining Science for Sleep. May your night be filled with wonder, and your dreams touched by stars. Until next time, sleep well.